Howdy guys, Attorney Walter Hnot. Now I want to go through this because this is important. There's 2 years here that matter, 2023 and 2024. I just did the video on 2023, in which case we're looking at mostly immigration benefits in the sense of illegal immigrants, legal immigrants, and those who are refugees having more access probably to the SSI 7-year program by loosening the definition of those types of terms and allowing those people coming into this country to access more of those SSI benefits. Also, President Biden in 2023 will likely increase any auxiliary benefits that are going to be going to children, whether it's going to be through the traditional Social Security program or some other agency or some other title. Now, let's get right to 2024 because 2024 represents the more important year. 2024 represents the year that is deciding his potential second term. This is the big year, right? This is the one where he has to get American voters on board. Whereas 2023 is more of his immigration policy, which is what his whole thing has been about. Obviously, the logical extension for a lot of everybody's seen it. Everybody already knows it, that when you vote farm, having immigrants come in and giving more benefits to younger children, more likely to create Democrat-based voters. Of course, whichever party has the majority, meaning the most votes, they get to make the law. The other party, they become the party poopers and they don't get to make the laws. All right. So what's going to happen in 2024? Please remember to like, subscribe, and leave 5-star reviews. A lot of people watch these videos, but they don't like the videos. So if you could like it, I would really appreciate that. Let's get right into it. Biden is, just the basics, a very heavy spender. He's the biggest spender as far as presidents go. He's more than any other president ever within the past 15 years. In fact, some of them you could combine them. Now, to be fair, you have to remember presidents have spent more as the timeline has gone on, and they've been more and more comfortable with putting more and more debt on our shoulders, called this federal debt, which is, of course, trillions and trillions of dollars out of control, in which we can't even afford to pay the interest on it. So Biden spends about $5 trillion more than what we make in a year. So the company of America is in debt around $5 trillion per year. Now, with that said, understand that a lot of the money that he is using, he's going to have to either have two tactics: stop spending as much, or go ahead and then basically divert those funds to essentially the Social Security recipients to make them happy to vote for him in 2024. Or he's going to have to go ahead and take out even more than $5 trillion. You don't know what's going to happen with Ukraine. You don't know what's going to happen with his immigration policy, etc. So the bottom line is this: we have to just understand his spending principles before we get into what kind of benefits he can confer upon you as a Social Security recipient, whether it's retirement or Social Security disability insurance benefits or supplemental security income benefits, etc. Now, Social Security, both the administration of it, the people who handle it, administer the funds, send out the checks, and the benefits, the check that you receive, are the number one line item in America. It is a big, huge, largest financial item in America, more than the military, more than any other category. You look at the pie chart, Social Security, that's the biggest one, and it should be. So it's not easily fixed with small money, which means we can't fix this with millions, we can't fix this with billions. We need trillions. So Biden is restricted because he is spending so much money on other things, which means to his benefit, he's got to figure out a way to spend less money per year, especially in 2024. Now, we know that 2023, nothing for Social Security benefits in the sense of big changes for the retired or the disabled are going to happen because it's not on the schedule for, what he's going to be spending money on. We already know that. Now, he might do some things with immigration. He might do some things with child benefits. That's another thing. All right. So we need to be realistic when approaching 2024. We know he is likely to erase the Social Security FICA tax cap so that the rich pay more. So, like 142K, you pay, the FICA tax, you pay your Social Security payroll tax up to that point. Any money you make above that, you don't pay tax on it. So he'll be able to get in millions and millions, potentially even billions, from all the wealthy who get taxed on way more than that. So as a result of that, if I were a betting man, what I would say is that he would apportion some of these extra taxes that he were to pass, right, that the rich are going to pay for 2025's Social Security benefit boost. Like, everybody gets a benefit boost. So he would put money into the trust fund, and then some of that money would come back to go ahead and boost their benefits in the immediate sense. Now, realize when he does this, there will be a war, a big war, if you will, from the super rich. And that's why this thing hasn't passed yet, because the politicians are controlled by the people who donate to essentially those in off, or the system by which they need to take, or the roadway to become a politician. Somebody's got to pay for all the excitement, all of the parties, all of the jazz, all of the suits, all of the phone calls, the phone systems, the computers, etc., to get somebody elected to that particular office. Somebody has to pay for that. And when you mega tax, right, and this is a huge tax, this is basically any money that they would be earning above that 142K, they'd get a new 12.4 tax on, 12.4% taxation on it. That's a huge tax, a massive tax. So Biden would, if he were to try and pass this in 2024, be making a lot of rich enemies, which is never good when you're trying to run for president. So the ironic thing about this is he is already a president. He gets a pension. His life is good. He walks out of the presidency, with a lot of benefits. But, and here's the thing, the bottom line of this is that he's also in a unique position because he can make promises for 2025 so long as he's made president again. And that's the real power of running for that second term. And then once you're elected for that second term, as you've seen, a lot of presidents don't actually do what they say they're going to do. So with that said, and that's Democrats and Republicans across the board, what I think he's going to do is this. I think he's going to try to pass it in 2024 and say, hey, look, if you vote for me, I'll make sure this gets through and this keeps getting pushed so that 2025 rolls around, I get an additional 4 years, everybody's on board and this continues to go through where all the rich get taxed. Well, at that point, he doesn't care about the rich if he's put into office because he gets 4 years. And at that point, he doesn't need additional money. It isn't important because that's it. He's done his 8 years as president, go retire. That's the gig, right? So what this is coming down to is he'll probably promise to get those votes, because remember, the party that wins gets to make the law. So what will probably happen is this. He will go ahead and make promises in 2024 to increase all the Social Security benefits by $200 per month. Now, a lot of Americans are with a short memory. And as a result of that, some of you guys remember he promised an additional $2,000 check. And then we were expecting, well, if we're not going to get that, as a fourth stimulus, then what happened to making 2,000 in total, like 1,400 plus 600, yada, yada. And then we never got that. And then we got a letter in the mail that said, hey, I'm going to borrow what Trump did with his second stimulus and pretend that total equals the $2,000. So, then you'll start seeing some of that jazz and excitement hopping up in the news. Now, once again, if I were a betting man, I don't see him getting rid of any of the reducing restrictions for supplemental security income recipients, like that they have, like the marriage penalty rule or the in-kind support maintenance rule. I don't see him getting rid of any of those, except to do a general boost of the SSI program beyond, in addition to the cost of living adjustment. The cost of living adjustment, of course, is always way too low. It's always like what we're experiencing in inflation is like 30 to 80% increase. What they're talking about is probably an 8.7 increase, which is just insane. It's way too small of an increase, which is why that nonprofit came out and said between 2000 and 2020, Social Security recipients, the retired, the Social Security disability insurance people, any benefit based off of the COLA, the federal COLA, between those 20 years, 2000 to 2020, people have lost 40% of the worth of the money that they receive. So in 2000, your retirement check bought you a much higher standard of living. So to put it in perspective, what the military people get with their pension /boost plus their Social Security benefits, they're living the life of what a retired person used to be able to live in 2000. So it takes like what the military people have with their two programs, their VA benefits and their Social Security benefits, to just be like what somebody in 2000 would have lived like with their retirement benefits, which sucks. And that's across the board. That's Trump, Obama, Bush's, Clinton's, all that stuff. It's just constantly been a downward spiral and people not getting what they actually need. And they keep changing how they're calculating COLA, and I've got to do that video at some point. All right, so I think what he'll probably do is try to like increase the SSI benefits by $150. Like everybody gets a boost, which will kind of help the marriage penalty rule people, but not really. And the reason why is if he increases the benefits, right, for SSI people by $150, then due to the in-kind support and maintenance rule, like the 1/3 reduction rule, which is where they reduce your benefits by 1/3 if somebody's helping you in some way, somebody's giving you money every month, somebody's giving you a room to stay in, whatever. He'll end up spending less as a government, right? The government will spend less than to abolish the in-kind and support and maintenance rule, because the in-kind support and maintenance rule reduces Social Security benefits by more than just boosting everybody by $150 a month. So it's that whole political low-hanging fruit thing. How do we give them something that makes them happy, that'll vote my way, but not have to do something that's big or, really, corrective, right? I mean, that's what that whole Supplemental Security, Income Restoration Act was all about. It was to restore it back to the original dynamics of what Nixon had originally passed, which is ironic because I think the most liberal, after studying and looking at all this stuff, the most liberal big law that was ever created in America was created by Nixon, which is just interesting because Nixon was hated by a lot of people, and Nixon, had racist qualities, very, very out there things, right? But then at the same time, this guy who was like that voted through the most liberal agenda, the most liberal bill to law that America had ever seen. I mean, think about trying to convince people to use federal funds and of course there were little programs that were like it before that, but to codify it all within the federal rules under the Supplemental Security Income Act, to go ahead and put it all together so that average Americans would be okay with a lot of their general taxes being paid to, anything from immigrants to refugees to the disabled who didn't pay into the system, or the disabled that didn't pay enough into the system, or those who are older, 60, at that point, 65, 66, 67 now. I mean, that's interesting. That's interesting. I'd love to see, or maybe even create a video on what the hell happened there, because Nixon, you wouldn't expect that from Nixon. You would have expected it from one of like the more extreme left liberals of that time. But the extreme left liberals of that time were more Republican than a modern day Republican. Because remember, when you go back in time to that particular era, the Democrats then were more Republican than even a modern day Republican. All right, so basically, that's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting him to boost the benefits, but not really fix that whole 1/3 reduction rule, which is the biggest fix out of all of them. Like if you were to fix any of them, marriage penalty rules up there, but that's a much smaller group of people, very tiny group of people compared to the 1/3 reduction rule. All right, so if Biden keeps the financial limitations, like we talked about, like the $65 plus $20 limitation or the $2,000 resource income limitation, then people will remain mostly unemployed out of fear of losing their benefits. This will make them more resource hungry due to lack of funds. So people will be more receptive to a Democrat being in office than a Republican. Because remember, if you keep people poor, they usually vote Democrat. Reason being is that Republicans are known for not being friendly to the Social Security system, especially the SSI program. So people mostly for benefit boosts look to Democrats, which is why it's ironic that you got two from Trump, the stimulus payments, and only one from Biden. People were expecting like a fourth and a fifth and a sixth and a seventh and an eighth, yada, yada, yada. But what they did was they said, okay, well, we're going to give it to the kids. But that's really funding parents to vote more for Democrats and then also those kids by creating families, lineage, history of that, being a Democrat-based group. These people are smart. These politicians are not idiots. They're very bright people, and their main agenda is always how do we create more voters for our particular party. And the Democrats, so the only thing that's really hurt the Democrats over the past couple of years, the Republicans used to be horrible at technology when it came to the internet and memes and TikTok and all that stuff. And now they're getting to the point where they're actually better than the Democrats. And the Democrats are also facing some tough hurdles, because there was the rioting and the this and the that. And, there's all these comparisons of which party is more evil. But the Republicans have become much more tech savvy, which has really hurt the online agenda of the Democrats. There's another thing, too. You will not be seeing Twitter. You will not be seeing Facebook. You will not be seeing Instagram. And you will not be seeing TikTok or even YouTube mass funding an election like we had in 2020. It won't happen again. And that's because they started too many lawsuits. I know you guys don't see that stuff, but when it comes to elections and stuff like that, and I really should publish, because I get the law journals and I get some of the crim law claim outcomes and stuff like that. You would be amazed at how much crime existed in all of these things that are occurring. And people don't realize Walmart is sued every single day. Every single day, Walmart is sued at least once a day. And people don't realize that because they're just not part of the legal industry. They walk into that store thinking, I can't sue this massive thing because it is the Walmart. But people don't have that perception, and Walmart works to keep it like that. That's why a lot of settlement discussions with them end with, we will pay you this, but you cannot talk about it going forward, outside of you, your attorney, and us. Now, just as a side note too, and you got to keep this in mind, you got to be open to this, you have to think about this stuff. Democrats mostly pull from the low income, below low, and homeless categories for votes. The more people work that in the industry of production related jobs, meaning jobs where whatever the worker produces is essential to their continued employment. You got to make so many widgets per hour, you got to complete so many services per hour, then those people tend to lean more Republican. Other jobs where their work product is not as essential to their employment in that like ka-chunk way, like teachers, community center, administrators, political jobs, these individuals tend to lean more Democrat. And what's important to understand here is that jobs that are accessible to the retired, the disabled, Social Security disability insurance, SSI, supplemental security income, jobs that are accessible to those people are largely going to define their future voting patterns. And with the SSI people, if you keep how much they can earn really, really low, then basically they're less likely to try and get some sort of job because they're always going to be real close to potentially triggering a CDR, continuing disability review. So if you increase essentially, how much that person can earn per month, how much that person can earn over a year's period, then what you end up with are more people being like, yeah, I want to get that extra buck. I want to earn that extra money. I want to get that, I want to get my benefits and get that money. And that mentality is dangerous to the Democrat-based, style of individual. So what I see is a lot of political struggling and manipulation of these programs. And don't think the Republicans don't have their games. They surely do. Same kind of gig with manipulating the programs to create voters. Same gig. But there's no, the Republicans are nothing right now. Like they don't own the House. They don't own the Senate. They don't own the White House. They have no power. They just exist. They're always the minority for everything. At least, obviously with what's going on right now. We don't know how that'll change. November is around the corner. Literally, the corner is viewable from right here. So as a result of that, I guess what I would say to you is we're going to see some fancy footing. And some people will be offended by this video because, I kind of explained how things work, and how things work is never beneficial to the party you're talking about, because it's more about mass manipulation of votes than actually helping people. And that, in particular, that tends to hurt the Democrat Party, because the Democrat Party sells the identity of we're here to help people. That's why we want to help mostly the low income, the homeless, etc. Whereas with the Republicans, their mantra is wear your boots, wear the bootstraps, pull your boots up, get to work. You can be anybody when you come to this country. You can be an immigrant. You can be, even at this point, an illegal immigrant. You can be, whatever, somebody of very low beginnings and make it and become a super gajillionaire, right? That's their selling point. Capitalism, even though capitalism in America is very broken. So the point with this is that when I do these analysis figures, I'm not doing it to attack you guys based on your political party. I don't know what your political party is, but I do get death threats, and they're usually from one particular group. And, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. But when I do this, I don't mean it in the sense of attacking your political beliefs. I give you this because it's an analysis of what's going on as to how these parties manipulate things to give you less, to make you act and react a certain way. So I hope you guys are seeing the analysis. I hope you guys are kind of reading between the lines, because that's ultimately what gets through on this stuff. I will catch you a little bit later. I hope you're having an absolutely wonderful night. I'm probably not going to do another video tonight. I wanted to do one more, which is like if I were running for president, the things that I would change, just based on how we're going to help the people the most. I will catch you a little bit later. I've got to go to sleep. I'm super tired. Remember, protect yourself at all means. We have a tough thing coming up, not just like the elections, but things are going to get more expensive. I think food's going to get more expensive, fuel's going to get more expensive, that kind of stuff coming into 2023. So just please prepare yourself. Please buy extra things that you need. The weirdest thing for me is that most people don't make a list of stuff that's like their all-star stuff, what they use every month. Make a list. 10 items, what you use every month. That's it. And then just buy more of that stuff. I'll catch you later. You have a wonderful night. We'll go from there. Thanks so much, guys. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.